Okay. So here we are. It's field trip day. You're in your groups. Um, and I'm just gonna. This video is really to give you an overview of what today is gonna be like, and to set up your notebook. Okay. And talk about like what's expected from your notebook. Okay. Basically, you're gonna be traveling with your group through 9 stations. I'll go through um, the schedule too. But we're going to be traveling through the group with 9 stations. At each station, you're going to have your notebook and have an opportunity to kind of pick one thing about that area. Again, a lot of it is outside. Um, that you really like, and you're going to take some notes about it. Okay, the stations rotate like this through the map, and um, the staff with your group has this map and the schedule and how to kind of rotate. Um, So one is this is the Avery, the lower pond, traveling around. Um, Bird Muse. 4 is the Wildcat Station. 5 is the upper pond. This walk around the pond is probably one of the longest. Um, 6 is another Avery. That's birds. Um, 7 is a sundial and the upper level. So this is the sundial platform. I do expect you to spend a little bit of time there because we have certainly done things with the sun and traveling and trying to find out what time it is. But also the upper level of the museum. So the sundial's here, and then you go in here. That your time is for these two areas, the sundial and the upper level. 8 is the mid level, so you go down the stairs, and your station 8 is things on the mid level. 9 is the lower level, and the lower level um, has some, and there's some kind of younger kid stuff. There's some fossil stuff, and there's also animal exhibits um, all the way to the side of it. So you want to kind of go over, make sure you get over there in the corner and look at the animal exhibits. That will give you the most information. And then there's an outward path, like then you go back outside. So the lower level is downstairs in that animal wing. As well as outside on the patio with there's some dinosaurs um, statues out there. Okay, and then you go around. So you're going to be starting at one of these and then working your way through the day. Okay, um, so that you get to see all the parts of the museum in the day. Um, Ecotarium, basically. We visit museums like this to learn about the world around us. As you move through the grounds, think about how what you see may connect to where you live. Think about what you see, think about what we've learned in science. Remember that we leave the space better than we found it. We're not leaving trash around. We're not um, pulling on trees or twigs or things like. We're not changing the outdoor or indoor environment. Your group will begin a scavenger hunt at a location that matches your group number. You will then travel clockwise through around the museum grounds. At each location, you will look for exhibits and areas that interest you. Okay? Then ask yourself, it's kind of the big question. Is this an organism, a model, or a fossil? It could be none of those, so watch for that too. Each exhibit is designed to both teach you something and create more questions and wonderings. Museums are great places to notice and wonder. Knowing what the exhibit is can help you understand its purpose and help you with those noticing and wonders. So notice, like, what is it? Is it a living organism? Is it a model? Is it a fossil? By the end, you should have notes of at least one example from all 9 stations of something that interests you. Option is to create a final sketch of one area of the ecotarium you really liked. Museum expectations. Pretty similar to school. Talking but not yelling. Walking, not running or jumping. Touching objects and others in appropriate ways. Really shouldn't be touching each other. We're not hanging on each other. We're not pulling each other. But even more important, we're not banging on the glass of animal habitats. We're not using objects in the models in different ways than we're instructed to. right? We're being respectful of the environment and what's expected, following directions. You're thinking, wondering, questioning, enjoying, while not interrupting others at the museum. Okay, there will be other people there. A lot of them are little kids. This museum is designed for the young and old, all the way from littles all the way up, right? And there are little kids there. And certainly you aren't interacting with them and bothering them. But also, what can be disturbing, what feels like it's private and not disruptive, is kind of like laughing or pointing, like, oh, look at, even if you're like, oh, look at that little kid, ha ha ha. Like, don't. You're not there to point and judge and really talk to or interact with others there. You're there as a part of our community. Leave other visitors to the museum alone, but be mindful of somebody waiting for an exhibit, especially younger children. You are an ambassador for the Hudson Public Schools. You just are. The people, the staff at the Ecotarium, and other people, they will make judgments, good and or bad, based on your behavior. And we are asking you to represent your community well. Just as you would as a sports team or any other event, take pride in your town by acting appropriately for the museum community. Here's our schedule. About 9:15, we're going to leave Hudson for the Ecotarium. 10 o'clock, you go in your first rotation with your group. We rotate approximately every 15 minutes. So it doesn't give you a long time in each area, but they're not very big. Some of them take some walking in between. About 11:15, lunch. 11:45, finish rotations. We are all eating. I think we're going to try to all eat in the same area, although nothing is guaranteed seating. So your group may have to eat where they can or where is closest to their next station. 11:45, finish rotations. 12:20, we're going to gather at the middle level is the planetarium. We're going to gather at the middle level for the planetarium show. We're all going to it together. That takes about 20 minutes or so. 1 o'clock, we're going to leave for the buses. So pretty much after the planetarium show, we're going to gather up and get ready to go to the buses. 1:30 to 2:30, we're back at Quinn. What we are doing there is completing group forms and finalizing sketches. I'll talk about those two things in a minute. And just relax and chill and reflect on and just enjoy the day, thinking about the day that you've had. Okay, dojo points is kind of the carrot to do these sketches and things that I've told you. And because it's the end of the year and it's a challenge to get as far as you can. You will have chances for individual and group dojo points. None of this is graded. None of this is an Aspen. This is all just kind of fun, right? Anyone who hands a notebook in to me gets up to 5 dojo points for completed notebook from each station. 1 will have some writing. Like if you get a score of a 1, your notebook has some writing in some of the sections. A 3, all sections minimally filled out. A 5, all sections exceptionally filled out with sketches and extra information. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this. But basically, you can have up to 5 points for a good notebook. Final sketch, up to 5 dojo points. At the end, as I mentioned during the reflection time and chill time, you're going to have the opportunity to take one of the things you saw and kind of rough draft sketches that you made and turn it into a finalized sketch. 1 point for someone who hands in a finalized sketch out of the notebook, but just minimum details. 3 points for a finalized sketch out of the notebook with details and care taken. 5, an amazing final sketch with colors and lots of detail. Basically, same thing. That's your individual points, your notebook and your sketch at the end. Team points. Your final form is filled out. Okay, so you're going to fill out the form. You're going to take your notebooks, gather them together at the end, and share, what were your examples? Which examples of models, which examples of fossils, which examples of organisms did you find? 1 point for each unique example, meaning, if 3 people in your group had the same thing, you're only going to write it once. I'm only giving you 1 point for that example. 2 points for each example not given by other groups. by really many other groups for kind of like more harder to find ones. 3 points for really hard ones. So if you found kind of a little nook and cranny in the ecotarium that isn't very noticeable and no other team saw, or highlighted, you may get 3 points for that. Okay, but it needs to be on this film, filled out correctly. Okay, I'll tally up the points for teams from your form. First place gets 20 dojo points each. So the first place team each will get 20 dojo points, with the first team within the most amount of points for their form. Second place 15, third place 10, and all other teams that didn't get first, second, or third, you will get 5 dojo points if you complete the form. Really just trying to get you to participate. In your notebook, you're going to put this flow chart, which kind of helps you decide if it's an organism, a fossil, or a model, which you're going to be writing about. Organism, fossil, or model. Okay? What do I mean by that? Well, you should know. An organism is a living or once living thing. Think back to our cells unit. Does it have cells? Right? What were the characteristics we looked for in living things? A dead leaf is an organism because it has cells. It was alive. Right? So that would go on if you are picking a dead leaf on the ground as one of your objects from your station, then you are saying it's an organism because it has cells and it was once alive. Here's how you use your chart for this, right? An organism is once a living thing. Let's look at the chart for this raccoon. Let's say you see a raccoon. I don't expect you to, but is it man-made? No. Yes or no? No, it's not man-made. Is it alive or was it once alive? Yes. Here's where this flow chart is not perfect. However, let's say you're looking at a rock, right? Is it man-made? No. Is it alive or was it once alive? No. Then it's none. There are examples of rocks and gems in the ecotarium. Those aren't going to be ones you're focusing on for this trip because they are none of those 3 things. So there can be a none thing. You're just not going to record those, right? But the raccoon is alive. Has it gone through a process after it stopped living? Well, it's still alive, so no. Right? So if no, then it's an organism. Right? If it was once alive or is alive, and it hasn't gone through a process, it's an organism, like the dead leaf or the raccoon. Okay? If it has gone through a process, remember back to our living things unit where we talked about things that have gone through a process, like paper from trees. Paper is not considered an organism because it's gone through a man-made process. Same with the wallet out of leather, right? So here's the thing about has it gone through a process. If it's gone through a man-made process, it's a model. It's no longer an organism. If it's gone through a natural process like fossilization, where the bones have turned to stone, that's a process. Those bones are no longer considered a living thing. They are considered a fossil. Okay? That's how you're going to kind of determine fossil, and we'll get to bones in a minute. Right? So that's how you use this flowchart. We'll go through a couple more. This is where, if they've been through a process, they are not an organism. I say this and repeat this because there are lots of examples of this in the ecotarium. Not necessarily fossils, so there are some of those, right? But there are taxidermied animals, not because they're like hunting trophies like this picture. But they've taken lots of animals that have died naturally and put them through a process to preserve them for the opportunity for people to learn from them, to see what those animals look like. Many of them animals you would never get that close to in real life if they were alive, right? So there are lots of examples of taxidermied animals. And taxidermy is the process in which they literally take out all the organs and things, and they're stuffing them, and they change the eyes with glass eyes. There are no cells left in these. They have gone through a process. They still look like the living thing. That's why they're a model. Right? So, like, look at this fossilized, not fossilized, sorry, taxidermy animal. Is it man-made? No. Like, they didn't create this in a factory. Is it alive or was it once alive? Yes. Has it gone through a process after it stopped living? Yes. Is that a man-made process? Yes. It's a model. Okay, so there are lots of taxidermy examples in the ecotarium. You are going to put those under model category. Okay. Model, created by humans to help us understand an idea or object better. Right, here's like our cell models, our three-way mirror models, our space models. We use models all the time in science. Museums have models all the time. And like I said, taxidermy animals are an example. Museums are full of models. The whole point of them is for you to learn up close and in a different way about the world. Right? So let's take the example of our cell model. Is it man-made? Yes. It's man-made. It's a model. Okay? That's pretty straightforward. It's not a fossil. It's not an organism. It's a model. Okay? Now fossils. An image or replica of a living organism or part of an organism that was changed and preserved over time. It has to be more than 10,000 years old, and it's almost always in rock. Right? And that's the idea that we're looking at in this one. Museums can also be full of fossils. The ecotarium has some fossils, but be careful. Some items that seem like fossils are just replicas or man-made models. How do you know? Read the information at the exhibit. It will tell you. It will tell you if it's fossilized or if it's a man-made bone. Okay? So, for example, human skeletons. They can be of two varieties. They can be made of actual bones or they can be made of models. If they're made of actual bones, think about the chicken bone example from our cells unit. If it's an actual bone, it's an organism, right? Remember, it didn't go through a process and it was once living, so it has cells. It's an organism. But if it says model of a human skeleton, then it's a model. It's not the actual bones, right? Read the information. It will tell you. Many dinosaur exhibits have replicas. That's the same thing. It's a model. It's not the actual fossilized bones. But there are some that are actual fossils. And not even of whole animals. Fossilized tracks. Right? Animal footprints that have been preserved in stone count as fossils. Is it man-made? No. Is it alive or was it once alive? Well, the thing that made it was, right? Has it gone through a process? Yes. Was it a man-made? It was a natural process. It's a fossil. So even like footprints count as that if they are fossilized. Okay. Here's your bonus. This is just for bonus dojo points. Only for organisms, because fossils and models we're not going to talk about consumer, producer, or decomposer. I suppose if you came across the taxidermy animals, you could certainly label them consumer, producer, or decomposer. An organism in an ecosystem that gets its energy from eating other organisms. A producer, an organism in an ecosystem that gets its energy from the sun. It produces energy for the rest of the ecosystem. A decomposer, an organism that gets its energy from breaking down dead organisms and recycling that energy back into the ecosystem. Okay. This will be in your notebook. You can add that in your notes section. So at this point, you're probably stopping and gluing these things into the beginning of your notebook so you have them. Now, the next sections, we're just going to go through each station and write the same things. So, look to your group leader. Whether you go in order or you start in your notebook with the station you're starting at, because they know which station you're starting at, right? Here's what we're going to do. At each station in your notebook, record one part of the station that you enjoy. The station number, the name of the example, and the type of organism, model, or fossil, and why you think that. Bonus, if an organism, which type, consumer, producer, or decomposer, right? So each station is going to be set up like this. I'm going to rotate through them, and then I'm going to leave it to your group leaders to tell you how to set up your notebook, whether you start with station 1 or you start with the station you're on. I don't care. It's up to them, right? Station 1, Avery. You're going to write exhibit. This is like, if I'm in the Avery, is it the owl? Is it the eagle? Right, okay. Name, owl, eagle. Some of these might repeat. Type. This is where you put model, organism, or fossil, and why you think that. And your extra page for a sketch, or extra information if you find another thing and you have time. Station 2, lower pond, same. I'm going to run through these, and then you're going to set them up. Station 3, bird muse. Station 4, wildcat station. 5, upper pond. 6, Avery again. 7, sundial and the upper level of the museum. 8, the mid-level of the museum. 9, the lower level of the museum. Have fun learning, exploring, noticing, and wondering.